Boys. Boys, I'm extremely excited to show you one of my more favorite builds I've come up with recently. I'm sorry if that was peaking. So this is going to be a guide and showcase on my Tesla Barbarian. Yes, I said that right. Tesla Barbarian. Now, here is my thick Chad boy, Platinum. Let's go dive in. I'll show you the specs, show you the stats, show you what socks he is wearing. We'll talk about his diet, we'll talk about his sleeping pattern, and we'll talk about how much he's staying hydrated as well. All important things we need to know when diving into how the fuck do we play a Tesla Barbarian. So, with the help of Haseen, let's go into it. So, stats. We have strength base is 125, dexterity is 49. You don't actually need much dexterity for this build, which is superb, particularly because I have like low requirement dex options. I do have Dream rolled in the Troll's Nest and Bone Visage as well, which have low strength requirements too. We are running Enigma, so that helps a lot with strength. That's why it's almost double as the base there at 238. So I could even save quite a bit on that base value as well. So if you want to respec, Enigma is always going to help you out, even if you want to roll that in a little bitty base, even breastplate if you're, super nutted out. Rest is obviously going into vitality, energy. We don't need jack shit, my friend, as usual. So, quick squiz at the stats. Nothing to really note here. We'll touch on a few bits later, actually, when we go dive into the gear right after not the quests, but the skills. So, some of these skills I probably don't need, but we'll go through and talk everything. So, starting with combat skills, I have 1 and 2 leap and then leap attack. I was testing this out before I found out that Enigma is probably the best suited for most scenarios with farming with this build, so you don't actually need these. The Berserk, the 1 point from that, is actually given to you by the runeword Passion, which is this is the creme de la creme for this build. Trust me, mate, it's bloody brilliant. So it gives you 1 to Berserk and 1 to Zeal. Now, these are O skills that you are given. O skills, boys. So that means you get given the skill the same as Enigma gives you +1 to teleport. Oh, what does that mean, Billy? Oh, well, it means you have access to all of the synergies. So you can save 3 points here to get Berserk, because you've already bloody got the thing, thanks to Passion. And in the new 2.4, we're going to be able to get synergies from Battle Orders instead of Shout, so this build is going to be even better. We can save a bit more skill points. But I digress. So, combat skills, you literally have to put nothing in there. We get given Berserk free of charge from the Passion reward, so we can use it. I'm using maces. I'll get into my choice of using a Scourge in a moment, because a lot of you are probably thinking, oh, why not using a Phase Blade? It's faster attack speed. Shut it, lad. We'll get there, alright? I'm the expert on the Tesla Barb. Thank you very much. 1 point wonders. I've got some extras I put into natural resistance just to peek me over, because I had some spare. Alright, had some spare. I had a lot of extra too, so I put that into Iron Skin, maxed that boy out. Absolute Chad. Get some, bigger shoulders and lats with some Iron Skin. I like that. 1 point into Find I put 2 points into Find Item because I got some extra. But just 1 point there and 1 point there with enough plus skills. Honestly, that's enough. I was tempted, instead of maxing out Iron Skin, you definitely can if you want to max out Find Item. But, dude, like an extra 16... It comes down to personal preference. Like, if you put an extra 16 points in here or so, you're only going to get, like, another 10 or 12% chance to find an item on top of that 44. Something like that. It's not too much. But if you really want to, then, go ahead. Rest of the points are through War Cries. So, 1 and 2, Howl. I've got maxed out Shout for defense. Maxed out Battle Orders. 1 in Battle Command. And then I've put 1 down the tree here. So, obviously, Berserk, if you wanted to use that a bit more with this build, it does get the synergy from Howl. So, that is an option to max out if you wanted to. Very well an option. Taunt down to Battle Cry. When versing strong bosses and elites, I do find this helpful. just to quickly pop it on and then keep banging away. It helps to knock down the health a little bit faster. I have put 1 point into Warcry just to test it around. The main use cases that I would find myself using this is in group play, when running in places like Cows or Cow Sanctuary. The best AoE that you have, not excluding the procs of Confuse from both the Dreams, so that is 20% chance to cast 15 Confuse, which is amazing crowd control. The other crowd control you have is Howl, but that's really counterproductive with group play. So found out very quickly people do not respond well to shitting on the density. So I thought Warcry is a good option there just to pop in. Now let's dive into the gear. So this is the big boy. This is the Passion Scourge. Now, before we dive into the rest of the gear, I just think it's good to cover why I chose to use a Scourge over other options such as the Phase Blade and the Berserker Axe. So let's compare the Berserker Axe first. So the Berserker Axe has a closer average. It has a higher average damage than the Scourge, but it is unfortunately slower. So it has just a base 0 attack speed that is before obviously the plus 25 that's applied from the rune word. And with the Scourge, it does have a higher damage, and the attack speed is -10, so it makes it a bit easier to hit the breakpoints. And with that higher physical damage, even though it has a very low from 9 to 240, as you can see, it kind of made sense for me to really use that in conjunction with the lightning damage on top, because lightning damage, it does quite commonly have a very low minimum damage and a very high maximum damage. So I felt like it's not really going to make much of a difference as long as I can bump up that physical damage just to compensate my lightning, particularly for immunes in certain scenarios, as well as maintaining the attack speed. So what came down to it here is this is slightly higher damage than the Berserker Axe, and it gives me enough at -10 base for a Scourge to meet my attack speed breakpoints. Now, the bigger question for a couple of you sweaty boys is, why not the Phase Blade? Well, I started testing this, and I found out that the physical damage was not quite enough in certain cases to really help me out. So, with certain places with immunes and when I really would need lifesteal, this passion was I found it quite difficult. Although it definitely attacks faster, it's not actually that much faster, you might think. So, with running the passion,
I can't use this yet.
I can't use it because of respect, but with using the passion, comparing it directly to the Scourge, you actually attack about, you get out 4.51 attacks per second, I believe, if I remember. I remember it's about another half a second. That's on average. But when you look at the frames of when you're attacking with Zeal, it's still heading at 5 frames for most of them, and then 9 frames at the end. With the Scourge, it's still heading with 5s, and then a 10 frame at the end. So it's about the same. And it performed better with the Passion Phase Blade. I felt like I was forced to use the lifesteal from Drax in certain places, which I found quite annoying in places like Wildstone Keep and in the Throne Room when other curses are going about. And don't forget that using the Drax, although it is bloody great, not going to argue that, you do have the Dreams going off as well. So 20% chance to cast when you're struck, and when you're teleporting in mobs and you're attacking them with Zeal, this is going to pop quite frequently, and it is going to override your Drax, because you've got 5% compared to 20, it's going to be going off quite frequently. So, in that case, what I did is I moved on to the Scourge. Higher physical damage, so that is going to take a better bonus from my Masteries. Here, it's going to be getting a better bonus from the Masteries. So I've got 3k, and it's also going to help a lot with the lifesteal. So I've found that I don't actually need to rely on the Drax, which is great. So now I can move on to the gear and show you the rest. So for my gloves, I'm using these here. So these are what I would probably recommend, but you do have other options as well. So we need the increased attack speed on the gloves. That's important. Crushing Blow is handy. Lifesteal is handy. And I love that I've got Magic Find on these, because this is a great magic finding build, I reckon, as well. Few other options for gloves which are brilliant is the lava gouts. Absolutely love these. So you've got the enchant on striking, so that helps with attack rating. Also fire res, a little bit of fire damage as well. Laying of hands is obviously a brilliant option for any melee build. You always see people mentioning those and seeing them throw about. So that has damage to demons. Really big fire res. If you need fire res, but this build is pretty decent with resistances anyway. In regards to the enchant on lava gouts, demon limb for a prev-up, it goes a long way with this. It increases your attack rating and chance to hit on bosses a lot more. So I definitely would recommend picking that up for quite cheap. So the rest of the gear, I definitely recommend one dual leech ring, or if you can, get at least one with mana stolen per hit. So with your attacks that you're shooting out with Zeal, you're attacking so fast. So if you have one source of mana stolen per hit, you are going to be that's going to help a lot through the mana burn and the casters and Chaos Sanctuary and things like that. So of course, when you're getting swamped by mana burn and mana steal, it's going to be difficult regardless. But it really helps in those cases just to get it back a little bit faster. I've got a Ravenfrost. I have War Trads, but you can definitely use something like Goblin Toes or Gore Riders to help with bosses. But for this case, I feel like I've got enough to really hit the bosses with Crushing Blow, so I've got War Trads for Magic Find. I have Arachnid Mesh along with a 220 Amulet. So that gives me 40 FCR, so that helps me reach the 37 faster cast rate breakpoint, which is 10 frames. So I'll just show you how fast that is now. So 10 frames in comparison to like if you have the same amount of FCR on an Amazon, I believe that's only going to get you to like 14 or 15th frame. So one crazy thing about the Barbarian, don't forget, is that it has the same frickin' cast frames as a Sorceress. I don't know, it's a bit strange. Let's get through the gear though. So Enigma for an Archon plate is bloody brilliant, so we can zip around, and we've got MF on there. We've got the Dual Dreams, which roll with Magic Find on them as well. That's another squiz at the amulet, nice and sexy, yeah boy. On Switch, I do have the Dual Hodos, so you can swap over to these. You can get your pre-buff of Battle Orders, get another +6, but another great thing about it is they both have a bunch of FCR, so in conjunction with my other Amulet and Arachnids, we get 120%. So that means we can reach the 105 breakpoint, and we can teleport wherever we want with ease, and then swap back. But if we don't want to do that, I've found that just 20 here and 20 here is absolutely fine. And when I am magic finding in some games, I actually do like to put my Alibabas on Switch and just go like that. Charms, I've just rocking some kind of mixed charms here with max damage is brilliant for this. I've got resistances just to max that out, and then everything else is just filled up with magic find, torch, and an eyeless. With the Mercenary, I've got my Andes, I've got my Fortitude, and I've got my Infinity there. So this, one downside to this build is Infinity is the only really way we can amplify our lightning damage from the Dream. So it really leaves us with Infinity. There's only one other option that we can do, and that is to get something like a Faceted Chestplate. Because we have rune words on every other piece, we have only one. If we're not using Enigma, we can put another piece in there to get the minus lightning resistance. You absolutely can swap out one of the dreams, but you'll be losing a lot of damage there. So if you're maybe in the next patch when we can leap around a lot faster, it might be better to farm some areas with this, because it definitely does show a lot more on the sheet damage. So we've got 33, and then 4,000. I think without further ado, let's hop in and do some runs. So how this kind of works is I basically use it like a Berserker. I've found that quite easy to farm areas. This is a great elite hunting character. So I think we'll start off with Frigid if I haven't already cleared it. Come back here, big man. I don't have my dual hodos, but let's pretend I do. Hop over here, out of the way, and just like that, yes, this is players 1. catch it. It's really nice to see how fast you can teleport around with just 2 pieces of gear. If you wanted to reach like if you don't mind reaching a slightly lower attack speed breakpoint, you definitely can put. Oh no, you'd still pick up the attack speed. So another option would be you can put on gloves here, like let's say Trangs or Mage Fist to get that 20 FCR, and you could swap out this in conjunction. So you could put High Lords in there instead. So you'd be getting +1 to skills. So remember your O skills would be getting another +1, so your Zeal will be slightly stronger there. And you would be picking up your Deadly Strike and covering yourself with attack speed. So that is definitely an option as well. So let's try and go through and do a Chaos run. Not going to be clearing everything, just to keep it a bit faster. So there's some mobs here. Pow is brilliant. And of course there's the Crepify, which I was concerned about. It does make this build look terrible when you are Crepify. It still does pretty good with lightning immunes, particularly so you've got the Infinity to break their immunity, and just the amount of physical damage that you can shit out is still really decent. I wish I could get rid of this Crepify. There we go, I'd much rather have Amplify damage. Never mind.
Not enough mana.
Here we are, let's pick up the pace a bit. Lightning immune on Disease. Remember, you still have that 1 point into Berserk, and it's still absolutely usable. So if you could see on the sheet damage, Berserk is actually 5500 with 1 point and maxed out 1 synergy, which is Shout. It's still very much worth it using it on immune mobs. That fella there was immune to lightning, but very much Berserk him if you want. Felt like it took a while to spawn there. Come on, mate. Making a video here. Yeah. So the boss clearing can be a little bit faster because remember, I'm not running the High Lords there. I'm not running the Goblin Toes or Drax, but it definitely does well on bosses with the Passion, Scourge, and with the attack speed that I have. It's just over 4 attacks per second. So I think that is definitely enough. And in comparison to the Phase Blade again, I would much rather have a bit more physical damage to help cover instead of attacking 0.5 more per second. So that is about it for the build. This is a very good magic finder. I was running around and covering elites. So just to show the magic find again, I've got 269 magic find. You can roll the dreams a little bit higher on the magic find end. I think they can go to 25 MF each. I definitely recommend keeping 2 sources of 20. That's probably the easiest. Is putting the amulet and the belt, so that'll leave room for some or any type of gloves if you can, as long as you can get magic find and increase attack speed. Anything else is a bonus on there. Your 2 rings, if you want, you can swap out 1 for a Nigel's, get a 30%er on there, or anything with magic find, maybe a bit more mana steal, and then war trabs. Some of these other ones for max damage, you can absolutely just swap them out. Since you're not clearing large groups of mobs, you're just clearing the elites. That's definitely one thing I would probably do when I have some more magic find. So swap out those max damage ones and probably get this up to over about 250. But don't forget about swapping when you are hawking and going through. So you've got your Blade of Alibabas. You can get your 6-disted phase blades if you're an absolute Chad. So that is 430 already. So I know for sure if you have those, it's going to be well over the 500s. So I think that finishes up there. I'm pretty happy with this build, with how it performs. So far, all the niche builds that I've tested, it has the best survivability, it has the best range, it handles P6 to P8 if you're elite hunting, just zipping through Wildstone Keep and other places that people don't go to because it can be quite dangerous for some builds. This build can handle it. So I guess just for the sake of it, let's just go through, show you how fast I can kind of zip through. Even these fellas here, the Black Souls, don't need to worry about them too much. It really is a versatile build that takes the kind of advantages of Berserker and really just opens it up a little bit. It's not as strong as the Berserker. You could probably do the same kind of stuff as that I'm showing in this video with the Berserker and a Grief and maybe a Death if you want, and clear the elites faster, absolutely. But you're not going to be running around like an absolute Chad with dual dreams. Come on, everyone wants to look like an absolute Chad. So, thanks again for the support. I'm going to end this video there at 20 minutes. A bit of a long one, but I love this build and I felt like it was worth just a little bit of, you know, in-depth review. Alright, see you guys.